In this video, you will meet the relative pronoun as it's found in the Greek New Testament. Hi, Rob McIver here. Let's talk about relative pronouns. And let's begin by talking about relative pronouns in English, something that is likely to be a little bit familiar to us before we launch into discussing what a relative pronoun looks like in Greek. So you probably want to know what a relative pronoun is. And when I did an internet search, I found this definition by Scriber. A relative pronoun is a pronoun that's used to introduce a relative clause. Okay. Yeah, maybe not that helpful yet. It will make sense in the end. Let's begin by noting that the English relative pronouns are who and which. And as it says there, which, that, who, and whom are all used to express an English relative pronoun, although they're sometimes used for other purposes too. In Greek, the grammatical function of a noun is indicated by a case ending. Usually, English does not distinguish the grammatical function of a noun by changing the noun, but that's not true for the relative pronoun. If we use nominative and accusative and genitive dative to stand for their grammatical function, which would be roughly the subject of a verb, direct object of a verb, possession, indirect object, etc., we can see that when used as the subject of the verb, the English relative pronoun is who or which or that. And when it's used as the direct object of a verb, it should be whom or which or that. When we're talking about possession, we say whose or of whom or of which. And when we talk about indirect objects, we say to whom or to which. Here is the declension of the relative pronoun in Greek. And as you run your eye down the column listing the masculine relative pronouns, you will see hos, hon, who, ho, hoi, whos, hon, hois. You recognize them from logos, don't you? Logos, lagon, lagu, lago, lagoi, lagoi, lagus, lagon, lagois. So these are just the case endings of the second declension masculine noun, decorated with a rough breathing mark and an accent. We look at the list of feminine relative pronouns, and again we recognize the endings of the first declension feminine noun. And the column of neuter relative pronouns has few surprises either. No doubt you quickly realize that the relative pronoun looks a little bit like many other words, the difference being either a breathing mark or an accent or a combination. Ha, without the accent is the nominative masculine singular of the definite article. With an accent, it is which or that. That's the nominative accusative neuter relative pronoun. Hey, without an accent, is the nominative feminine singular of the definite article, meaning the. If we add an accent, it becomes hey, who, that, the nominative feminine singular of the relative pronoun. And there are other combinations of breathing marks, accents, and even iota subscripts with hey, a with a smooth breathing mark, a circumflex accent, and a iota subscript is the third person singular subjunctive active of I, me, and so on. Here's a further list of words that is distinguished by breathing marks and accents, etc. I have an appendix in my book, Beginning New Testament Greek Made Easier, that gathers together a list of words which are spelt the same but have different combinations of accents and breathing marks, etc., that indicate that they are different words. Now let's take a look at how relative pronouns work. They take the number and gender from their antecedent. The antecedent is the noun that they refer back to. And usually they take the case that fits their grammatical function in the sentence. Okay, it still probably sounds a little bit complicated. It's not too bad in reality. Let's look at some examples. In Mark 13, I found these words: ume ephethe, hoda, lithos epi lithon, hos ume kataluthe. Yes, we have here Ume plus subjunctive twice, don't we? That's what we're looking at. Jesus is saying to his disciples, there will not be left here stone upon stone, hos, which will definitely not be thrown down. So the hos, which, refers back to the lithos. So refers back to the stone. It is masculine singular because its antecedent, lithos, is masculine singular. And it is in the nominative case because it is the subject of the verb kataluthe. I've provided a little more context than usual in our next example because it helps us understand what's going on with the relative pronoun. And in fact, this sentence has not one but two relative pronouns. So they came to John and said to him, Rabi, hos ein metasou peran tu Jordanu. Hos, the one who was with you beyond the Jordan. So that is Jesus. The antecedent in this case is implied. The hos is masculine and singular because the implied antecedent noun Jesus is masculine and singular. And it is in the nominative case because it is the subject of the verb ein. Now, after the comma, we find our second relative pronoun, and this one is in the dative case. It's in the dative case because it's found with the verb martureo. So, to whom you have witnessed. Another example. Udos gar dunatai torta ta samaya poion ha su poiais. And the sentence goes on, of course. For no one is able to do these signs which you do. So the signs are ta semaya. The antecedent here is ta semaya, the signs. It is neuter plural, and therefore our relative pronoun is going to be neuter plural. It is the nominative case because it's the subject of the verb poiais. Another example. Anthropon, a man, hos, who, tell me. So the antecedent of hos is anthropon. It is masculine singular, so hos is masculine singular. It is nominative because it is the subject of the verb eipin, and one that shows the use of a feminine relative pronoun, ein de Miriam, heis, ho adelphos. So it was Mary who, except it's not who, is it? It's a genitive. Whose brother. Miriam is feminine singular, therefore heis is feminine singular. Its grammatical function is to show possession, and therefore it is in the genitive case. So in all these examples, we see that the relative pronoun takes its gender and number from its antecedent, but the case from its grammatical function in the sentence. So in these examples, the relative pronouns have obeyed the rules about number and gender and case. There are some exceptions with some relative pronouns, and I do discuss them in my book, Intermediate New Testament Greek Made Easier. And there's a section that deal with such things as the attraction of the relative pronoun. But for beginners, what we have is probably enough. It makes us familiar with the relative pronoun. They're found often in the New Testament, and as we work with them, we will become comfortable with them. And in fact, relative pronouns aren't that bad for an English speaker because their function in Greek is not dissimilar to their function in English. If you're looking for an opportunity to practice relative pronouns, might I recommend the exercise in chapter 24 of my book, Beginning New Testament Greek Made Easier. This video is one of a series of videos on various aspects of the grammar and syntax of the Greek New Testament. You can most easily find the videos by either subscribing to my YouTube channel at NT Greek Made Easier or by following me on x.com at robmciver2024. And hey, if you found this video useful, why not let me know by either clicking on the like or the heart icon below. Thank you.